Hi, I'm Susan Adams. I'm a Deputy Commissioner at the Georgia Department of Early Care and Learning. It is my pleasure to work with the Georgia's Pre-K program. Today, during this presentation, I'm going to be talking about understanding your pre-K salary. And this presentation is designed for lead teachers. There's some big changes coming to lead teacher salary in October, and I want to make sure that you understand them. The changes for many teachers will result in increases in your salary, and it will overall provide greater parity between pre-K teachers and their K-12 colleagues. Before we jump into those slides, I want to let you know how much I respect and appreciate the hard work that pre-K teachers do every day. I was a Georgia's pre-K teacher and enjoyed my years in the classroom and know how hard each of you work every day. I've worked in both public schools and in private child care centers, and so I try to remember that experience and the experience of teachers every day as we work to administer the Georgia's pre-K program. All right, let's hop into the presentation. I'm going to start with some definitions. Some of you listening to the presentation may already be familiar with these terms. Others of you may not, but I'm going to start here so that we have a shared understanding of these terms because it will help us as we walk through the presentation. The first definition is salary schedule. A salary schedule is a schedule that outlines the annual salary for each approved credential and each salary step. Georgia's pre-K has always had a separate salary schedule that looked at a base salary and then a supplement for CYE. The Georgia Department of Education has always had a separate salary schedule for K-12 teachers. In October, we're going to be moving Georgia's pre-K teachers to a salary schedule that aligns with the K-12 salary schedule. Creditable years of experience, or CYE. CYE is simply the experience that a teacher has, the number of years that they have taught. For Georgia's pre-K, that's either in a Georgia's pre-K classroom or in a K-12 classroom in a public school, either here in Georgia or in another state. To get credit, a teacher must work 60% of the school year to earn a year of experience. The next definition is salary step. A salary step determines or identifies the amount of salary for CYE or for experience. Sometimes those are even steps, like in Georgia pre-K, it was always 2 years between each step, so consistent or even steps. In the K-12 salary schedule that we'll be looking at, the salary steps come in different increments. And then the last definition is training experience, or T&E. T&E is simply the training, is the credential of the teacher, and experience is the CYE of the teacher. Sometimes you'll hear the K-12 salary schedule called the T&E schedule. I'm going to talk through some of the lead teacher salary requirements. Many of these requirements are for the Georgia's pre-K program providers. Learning about them will help you understand how payments are made to them and how that impacts your salary, and then also will help you think through your relationship with your employer. Georgia Pre-K grantees, these are the programs that contract with our department to offer the Georgia's Pre-K program at their school. They receive funding in their pre-K budget for lead teacher and assistant teacher salary, and that's paid to them each month over the school year beginning in August until May. They're also required to have a minimum salary for each credential level. These salaries are actually determined each year by the Georgia General Assembly in the state budget process. The salaries are set there, and then they're given to our department, and then they become part of the operating guidelines for Georgia's pre-K providers, and they must pay out that minimum salary to their lead teacher based on their credential and their credible years of experience. If you're interested in looking at the operating guidelines, those are posted on the Department of Early Care and Learning website. And later in this presentation, I'll show you exactly where you can locate those guidelines and review them. Pre-K providers must pay that minimum salary to the teacher or to the teacher positions in that lead teacher position over that school year. And I say teachers because there could be changes in that teacher position across the school year. There might be a lead teacher that resigns or leaves, and you have a temporary or short-term sub in there or long-term sub, and then you'll have another teacher come in. And so the salary is actually paid out for the different teachers that might be occupying that position over the year. Salary is for that lead teacher position for the approved school calendar. So every provider has an approved calendar for the classroom, and typically that calendar covers 190 days, 180 instructional days with students, and then 10 teacher work days. Those work days could include things like pre and post planning, professional development or training days, or maybe even conference days with families. They're days where students are not at school, but teachers are working. Now I say that's typically 190 days because there are some programs that have a calendar that's approved for less days than that, maybe 185 days total, or some different combination of instructional days and teacher work days. As long as that's approved by the department, then that's the schedule that we would pay on, and the payments would include that total salary for the teacher. Now, I would stress that you think about how this payment of a specific number of days for the school year run by the calendar impacts your salary. We often get questions from teachers about being paid for holidays or vacation time. And to be honest, teachers aren't paid for those days mostly. Teachers are paid for the number of days that they're contracted or their work agreement specifies. Teachers do have times of the year that they don't work, like spring break or fall breaks or even summer break. And those are times when teachers aren't working. Many people count them as vacation days, but teachers in pre-K and K-12 don't normally get paid vacations or holidays. They're contracted or work for a specific number of days. Now, your employer, who is the employer that you work for, not from the Department of Early Care and Learning, your employer may set up policies where they do offer some sick leave days or annual leave days. It's usually not a lot, but it is a benefit to you, and that should be outlined in writing for you as part of your contract or employment agreement. All employers are required to have that for lead teachers, and in that contract or work agreement, they should have written down your salary, the salary schedule, which could be weekly or bi-weekly or monthly. It should specify whether your salary is going to be prorated over 12 months or if it's going to be paid as time worked over the 10 months, meaning that you might get paid hourly. It should specify any leave that you're entitled to, but it should also specify your responsibilities as a lead teacher. When you should arrive, when you clock out at the end of the day. It should specify your duties like writing lesson plans or child assessment. All of those things should be part of that work plan, and it's designed to protect you so that you understand and have it in writing what you're supposed to receive, but also to protect the employer when they have written out what your responsibilities are. I'm going to now start talking about the 2024-25 school year, that current school year, and talk about the changes in salary for this school year. So the first thing that was part of the state budget, and remember that's how the salaries are set for pre-K teachers, is that all pre-K lead teachers had a $2,500 increase for each approved base salary beginning in August. So this $2,500 was included in the base salary for 2024-2025. So we took the base salary from 2023-2024, our last school year, and added $2,500 to that. And that's the minimum requirement for this year. So most teachers should have had an increase in their salary starting in August, in their August and September salary. Now, there are one or two reasons why a teacher might not have seen an increase there, and that would have been if your employer was already paying you that minimum salary last year. They were paying the 2024-2025 minimum salary requirement previously last year, and then they are just paying you the same amount this year. So that could be one circumstance. That shouldn't be most teachers, but there could be. You could look at that and see, did your employer meet the salary requirement for this year? And then the other thing could be that you don't have an approved credential. So those approved base salaries are based on approved credentials, and we'll walk through the approved credentials today. If you do not have a sufficient credential and you're working as a pre-K lead teacher with an insufficient credential, then the $2,500 increase was not added to that salary. Teachers should have already received the increase in August, unless the teacher was already being paid at that level. And then in October, so this month, lead teacher salary transitions to a new scale, which is aligned with the K-12 state teacher salary schedule. And I'm going to walk through that state salary schedule in this presentation. So let me talk about the changes that are beginning with the October payment. And first, let me say that these are really good changes for pre-K teachers. It's something that you've been asking for to be paid on the same salary schedule as K-12. And it's something the department is really encouraged that is happening because it allows for salary parity between pre-K teachers and their K-12 colleagues. The other thing that's happening is that it really impacts teachers' ability to have more salary across their professional career if they stay in pre-K. The current salary schedule doesn't acknowledge those higher levels of credentials, so T4 and T7, T6 and T7, and that really hinders people's ability to get those higher salaries as they get additional credentials and as they get more years of experience. So what will happen in October is the lead teacher salary will be based on calculated based on the new state's salary schedule for Georgia's pre-K teachers. This aligns with the Department of Education state salary schedule. And for most credentials, pre-K salary paid by DECAL will be the same as K-12 salary paid by DOE. And I'll point out where there are some differences. There are some credentials that DECAL accepts for pre-K that aren't accepted and aren't part of the K-12 salary schedule. Now, one thing that I do want to point out is that this doesn't include any salary supplement that might be paid by an individual employer. This is about the amount of money that's set in the state budget for teacher salary and paid by the department, either the Department of Ed or the Department of Early Care and Learning. It doesn't include any salary supplement that an individual employer might pay out of their own funds to supplement salary. So I was a teacher for some years at Clayton County Public Schools, and Clayton County Public Schools paid a supplement for working in their county to their teachers from their county funds. And that's not money that came from the state budget, so that's not included here, and it's not funds that DECAL can pay out to lead teachers, so there's still going to be some differences there. But we are shoring up the differences from the amount of money that's paid from the state budget. The other thing to just remember is that no lead teacher will make less during this transition. While there will be some places in the salary schedule where a teacher won't get an additional increase, but they won't lose any money. So if a teacher is eligible for an increase, then this funding would be adjusted for the October to May payments. So we'd adjust that annual salary, and then a retro amount or the difference that teacher should have made for August and September and July, if there are any days, would be paid in October. And if the teacher's current salary is more than the new salary step, so if they're making more on the current pre-K salary schedule, then the salary will not be adjusted and no money will be taken. The program will still be receiving the same salary for the teacher for the rest of the year, and the salary will stay same. And it'll actually stay the same until that teacher gets additional years of experience that put her on a higher salary step in the new schedule. And I'll show you an example of that today. So before we get to those examples of the salary schedule and examples of teacher salaries, I want to tell you about resources that you can go onto our website and take a look at. There are two things that will be helpful as you learn more or have questions about lead teacher salary that you can go to. One is their dated operating guidelines for pre-K providers posted. And you can see them if you go to the project director page, and you can click on the cross next to pre-K providers operating guidelines. If you click that, it'll expand and you'll see the guidelines posted there. You'll be able to download those and take a look. Any revisions are highlighted in yellow, so you don't have to figure out what changed since the beginning of the year. It'll be highlighted. And then the second resource you'll want to look at is if you go down to teacher salary information and resources and click that. We've clicked the cross there and you can see it's expanded, and the first link there is the October 2024 to June 2025 state salary schedule for Georgia's pre-K teachers. So you can go there and find all of the information that I'm going to talk about today. This is a state salary schedule that's posted by the Georgia Department of Education on their website. It is for fiscal year 2025 or school year 2024-25, which is our current school year. This is the salary schedule that's set by the state budget and is for teachers in K-12 that are teaching in public school settings. It is also the salary schedule that we're aligning the new pre-K salary schedule with. So a couple of things I want to point out to you that are different in the salary schedule. If you look at the very left column, that is your years of creditable service or your creditable years of experience. And you'll notice that they start at a 0 years of experience all the way down to 21 years of experience. So 21 and up, that is an additional year of experience. The pre-K ones only go to 20. The next column is going to be the salary steps, and they start with an entry level E and go all the way up to what's called L6, and we'll talk about those salary steps in a minute. The other thing you want to look at is the row across the top that has the credentials for this salary schedule. And as you look at that, they're going to go from a T1 certification all the way to a T7 certification. And as you look at that, you'll notice a couple of different things. There are going to be some certifications that have that say PROV, and that is a provisional certificate. A provisional certificate is non-renewable. It is someone who hasn't met all the requirements for certification, so they're going to have a provisional certificate. Then they'll need to meet the requirements to get a PROF or professional certificate, which is a certificate that is renewable, and so you'll see that at the different levels. The provisional starts at the BT4 certification level or the T4 certification level. And you'll notice this goes all the way up to T7. So there's some additional levels for pre-K teachers that aren't in our current salary schedule. The other thing you want to pay attention to there is that there are base salaries listed up in the row with the credentials. I would point out, if you look at the T4 salary of $43,592, and that's right there in the column with professional T4. And underneath it, it says 100%. So for the Department of Education, their base salary is based off this T4 salary of $43,592. And then salary changes, either goes down from there. So if you have a provisional certificate, it's going to be a little bit less. And then if you have a T1 or T2 certificate, there's some different amounts there. And you'll see it's a percentage. And then as you go up to T5 and above, you'll notice that that base salary increases, and it's a percentage higher than 100%. So that's how they base their base salary. You'll notice that base salary is a little bit less than our current base salary for T4 and pre-K. So some differences there, and that's going to make a difference as we move people to this new salary schedule on whether or not they're immediately getting an increase. And I'll just point out here, this is where we're going to get the additional levels of certification that we currently don't have. So a T6 and a T7. Now I want to point out another part of the K-12 salary schedule with how they have their salaries listed. And I want to make sure that I point this out because it is something that has confused teachers. And to be honest, it confused us as we were trying to figure out this transition to the new salary schedule. So you'll notice that this, I've just cut out part of the salary schedule, and you'll see for each salary there's listed a salary at the top and then a salary underneath it. Some people thought that you added those salaries together to get a total salary, and that's not correct. I can see why you would think that, and it's a little bit confusing, but the top salary, so if we look at the T4 professional salary here, it's $48,243 for a salary step 4. So this teacher has 6 years of creditable service. They're on salary step 4, so their salary is $48,243. That's the annual salary, the total annual salary. So the base plus her steps is $48,243. The number underneath it is the monthly salary if the salary was divided or paid over 12 months. So it's the monthly salary. You do not add these two amounts together to get the total salary. The top number of $48,243 is her total salary for a T4 teacher with 6 years of creditable service at salary step 4. So that's been confusing to people, and we wanted to point it out. And we felt it was so confusing that you'll notice later it isn't on the pre-K salary schedule. One, it's a little bit confusing, and two, pre-K providers, remember, can pay teachers monthly. They can prorate it over the entire calendar year, so divided by 12, or they might pay another way where maybe they pay weekly and they don't prorate over the whole calendar year. So we're not including that monthly salary on the pre-K salary schedule. Now let's walk through the new salary schedule for Georgia's pre-K lead teachers. This is the new schedule for fiscal year 2025, which is school year 24-25. And this scale actually starts in October because that's when we're transitioning to the new scale. You'll notice this looks pretty similar to the K-12 salary schedule, and we're going to walk through the different components. The first thing I want you to pay attention to is the green boxes. Those are the approved credential levels for pre-K, and they go from an insufficient credential all the way to a T7 credential now. And we're going to walk through those credentials on the next slide. Then I want you to look at the orange column all the way to the left. That's your years of creditable service, or your CYE, creditable years of experience, and that's exactly the same as K-12. The blue column is your salary steps, and you'll notice those are exactly aligned with the K-12 salary schedule. If you look over to the right to all of the yellow boxes, these are all for the certification salaries. If you look back, those salaries are exactly the same as the K-12 salary schedule. The only difference here is that we're only posting the annual salary, not the monthly salary. So the monthly salary, if you remember, is listed beneath the annual salary on the K-12 schedule. We're not including that for two reasons. One, it's a little bit confusing. And two, not all pre-K providers prorate salary across the 12 months. Some of them do not do that, so that monthly salary would not be correct for all teachers. Then I want you to look to the left, the purple boxes. These salaries are a little bit different than the K-12 scale. That's because these credentials are not exactly aligned with the credentials in K-12. So in addition to teachers with certification, we also allow some teachers with just a degree to teach in Georgia's pre-K program. And so the base salaries here are different, but you'll notice they do say T-1. That means they're getting the same step amounts as the T1s on the K-12 salary schedule. Let's walk through those credential or salary levels. These are the green boxes on the last slide. So an insufficient credential is someone who doesn't have an approved credential. So they do not have an ECE credential at all. An associate's degree in ECE or early childhood education. This is actually no longer an approved credential for lead teachers. It applies to grandfathered teachers. So we have a small number of teachers that were teaching in the program with an associate's degree when it was an approved credential. Those teachers have been allowed to continue to teach with that associate's degree as long as they continue to be employed at the same employer. We don't allow any new teachers to come in at the associate's level as an approved credential. The next level of credential is a bachelor's degree in early childhood education. So that's a bachelor's of art or a bachelor's of science in early childhood education or an approved ECE related area. If you're interested in what the related areas are, you can go to the pre-K operating guidelines and they're listed all there. The next step is a non-ECE bachelor's degree or higher. So this is someone that has a bachelor's degree or a master's degree in another field other than early childhood, but they have an accompanying approved ECE credential. So they have a BA or a BS or higher with an ECE credential. So that could be, it's typically a child development associate or a CDA, but it could also be an associate's degree in early childhood or a technical diploma in early childhood. If you're interested in looking at those credentials more, please refer to our guidelines. The next levels are the Georgia Professional Standards Commission or Georgia PSC certification levels. And those certification levels go all the way from T4 to T7. And each of them are a combination of a credential in the field plus meeting the certification requirements. So a T4 is a bachelor's plus certification. A T5 is a master's plus certification. A T6 is a specialist degree plus certification. And a T7 is a doctorate degree plus certification. Now I will note that those have to be certifications in approved field types. So you can't have a certification in high school math because that doesn't make you an appropriate pre-K teacher. So if you're interested in looking at the approved field types for those certifications, then please go to our guidelines. And then the last note to note here, and we talked a little bit, was about provisional certification. This is a temporary certification from the Georgia Professional Standards Commission. This person must meet minimum requirements to get that provisional certificate, and they usually have up to 3 years to complete certification. If you are interested in knowing more about a provisional certificate, then you should go to the Georgia Professional Standards Commission, who can help you figure out those steps to get that. Let's talk about some differences in the salary schedules. We're going to do some comparisons to the old pre-K salary schedule to the new pre-K salary schedule. This will help you understand what the changes are and how they might impact you. So in the old salary schedule, as we think about the total salary, it included a base salary and a CYE supplement. You had to look at both of those things and add them together to get your total salary. In the new salary schedule, it'll combine the base salary and the CYE supplement into one total salary amount, that annual salary that you can easily find on the new salary schedule. In the old CYE steps in the old scale, the CYE steps were a 2% every 2 years. In the new salary scale, it looks at salary steps that are varied. And so you'll remember when we looked at it, there was 0, 1, and 2, which was entry, and then you had 4, 5, 6, and 7, all the way to 8 as a single year, and then it began to be a salary step at every 2 years. In the old salary schedule, it ended at 20 years. Now in the new salary schedule, you have the benefit of that additional 21st step. The old salary schedule did not include additional salary for T6 and T7 certification levels, and the new salary schedule does. I'm going to go through a couple of salary basics that I think will be helpful, and then we're going to look at a couple of examples. So salaries based on the approved credential and CYE of the lead teacher. Salary is all that is listed in the new salary schedule is the annual total salary. It includes the base salary for the credential and the step supplement for the credible years of experience earned. If you look, step E is the base salary for each of the salary levels. So you'll notice there I have highlighted in yellow. That is the base salary, and you don't get any supplement until step 1. And insufficient credentials only receive the base salary or the E salary step. Remember I said that if you have an insufficient credential, you're not eligible for CYEs and CYE supplement, and you just get that base salary, and it's $25,741.35. Now we're going to look at some examples. The first example is a lead teacher salary with no salary change. On the examples, we're going to look at determining the salary in 3 steps. So first, you identify the approved credential for the lead teacher. In this example, the teacher has a T4 certification. So you're going to find the column for the teaching certificate T4. The second step is you're going to identify the creditable years of experience earned. In this example, the teacher has 3 years of CYE earned. So if you look at the row for 3, you're going to see that she's on step 1. And if you look where the credential and the salary step intersect, that's going to be the annual salary. And I have it circled there in red. So in this example, the annual salary, when I looked it up, was on the old schedule. This teacher was currently making an annual salary of $46,605.35. On the new schedule, you'll see it circled there in red, the teacher is making $44,615. So her salary is actually more in the old salary schedule. So there'll be no salary change. And this teacher will remain at a salary of $46,605.35 until she got 3 years of experience. 2 more years of experience for a total of 5 years of experience, and she'd be on step 3, and it's highlighted there. That would be when, according to this salary schedule, she would get that increase, and that increase would be highlighted there in yellow of $46,753. So if the base salary doesn't change, then she wouldn't get an increase until she completed her 5th year of experience. So why is this different here? There are people that are not going to get an additional increase this year. They got the increase of $2,500, but the new salary schedule where they are with the steps means that they won't get an increase. The old pre-K salary schedule did have teachers with a lower credential and less years of experience were a little bit higher. But then if you'll remember, this salary schedule really benefits teachers over their career. So this teacher will not lose any salary, and they wouldn't lose any salary next year or the following year because we don't want to take funding away from teachers. They would get a salary increase when they got the additional years of experience to get to that 3rd step. Now we're going to look at an example of a lead teacher salary with a salary change, meaning that the teacher is going to get an increase. You'll go through the same steps to determine the salary. So in this example, it's a lead teacher with a T4 certificate with 15 years of experience. 15 years of experience on the old scale would have been an annual salary of $55,164.10. On the new salary schedule, it would be a salary of $56,435. So there's an annual change in that salary of $1,270.90. And so the step that the teacher is on makes the salary more. So they'll move to that new salary step and receive that new salary for the year. And then the program would also receive any salary difference that should have been given to the teacher for August and September, which would probably be around $100 each month, depending on the number of days the teacher worked. We're going to look at another example of a lead teacher salary with a salary change. This would be an increase for this teacher. In this example, the lead teacher has an ECE bachelor's degree with 9 years of experience or CYE earned. On the old salary schedule, the teacher would have been paid an annual salary of $41,122.51. On the new schedule, you'll see that the teacher would be paid $49,123 for the annual salary. So a very significant increase for this teacher of a little over $8,000. So the teacher would be paid at that new salary of $49,123 for her salary for October through May. And then she would receive the retro, the difference in the salary for August and September that she did not receive. And that would be based on the number of days she worked, but a nice retro amount that this teacher would receive too for the difference in compensation. In this example, it's another lead teacher that is salary that is going to have a salary change or salary increase. The example here is a lead teacher with a T7 certificate with 18 years earned of experience. The annual salary on the old schedule would have been $64,271.93. If you look at the salary circled down there in red, they have 18 years of experience. That puts them on salary step L4. So the annual salary on the new schedule is $79,233, which is an increase, a pretty significant increase for this teacher of about exactly $14,961.07. So an annual increase of that. So as you can see, more years of experience, higher credential, a more significant difference in salary. So since this step is more, this teacher would move to this new step and receive retro for August and September salary for the difference, and then their new salary they would be paid on for the rest of the year. I hope those examples that I went through were helpful in understanding how to use the new salary schedule and helped you understand how to identify your salary on that schedule. I wanted to let you know a couple of things about salary payments to programs. One is that payments are calculated based on the approved classroom calendar. So each month, programs receive a payment that includes all of the funding for the program, including salary money, and that's based on the number of days that a program operates in the month. So in a month like August, where you run almost every day of the month, it might be calculated on 20 days. But then when you have a month when you have a break, or maybe when there's the winter break, there will be less days in that month. The other thing to think about is if your program is already paying on the state K-12 salary schedule for July, if applicable, if your program ran in July, August, and September, and they were already paying that lead teacher salary to you, then the salary should be aligned and your lead teacher salary shouldn't change. You would have already received that. And what we're doing is paying them the amount of money to shore them up, because many school systems already pay on the K-12 salary schedule. If you work for a program, and this is primarily child care programs, but some school systems that haven't been paying on the K-12 salary schedule for July, August, and September, then you will transition to the new scale for your October lead teacher salary. If your lead teacher is making more in the new salary schedule, then you'll receive, your program will receive a retro payment for August and September salary. And if there are any days in July, the retro amount meaning the difference amount should be paid to the lead teacher based on the days that the teacher worked in July, August, and September. They need to pay that salary out to you in October, and it's not allowable to be paid for held for payment later or spread out in different increments across the year. That money's owed to you, so they need to pay it out to you. If you have questions about your salary or you want to make sure your salary is correct, here's some steps that may help to ensure that you're getting the correct salary. Make sure that you have provided appropriate credentials and CYE documents to your employer. That way they're able to make sure that they're entering their information into our roster system about your credentials, and that's being verified through the professional development system, and everything aligns. So you need to provide your documents to your employer. You also need to register in the Georgia Professional Development System and keep your information up to date. If you hold a certificate from the Georgia Professional Standards Commission, make sure you meet any requirements for certificate renewal. You have to update your certificate every 5 years, and you'll want to make sure that you're meeting those renewal requirements. If you hold a Child Development Associate or CDA, if you're one of the teachers, lead teachers that has a non-ECE bachelor's and you have an accompanying ECE credential as a CDA, that CDA expires, so you need to make sure that you are meeting the requirements for that CDA renewal, because if you don't, then your CDA will expire and you'll no longer be eligible to teach as a Georgia's pre-K teacher, and you'd be knocked down to that insufficient pay. And make sure you're asking for your salary in writing as part of your work agreement or contract. Programs are your employer is supposed to be giving you that information so that you can make sure you're being paid correctly. With the transition to the new salary, some employers are going to be revising your current work agreement. Some employers were already paying you on this scale, so there won't be a need for an updated work agreement. And other employers are going to we're talking about giving you a new work agreement or contract. So you'll just want to make sure that you have that in place. And that should answer all of these questions that you have about salary. Here are a couple helpful websites if you're looking for more information. All of the information that I've talked about today from DECAL, so the new salary schedule, the pre-K operating guidelines can all be found on the pre-K website. If you have questions about certification or how to get certification, or you want to see about if you're eligible for a provisional certificate, you should contact the Georgia Professional Standards Commission, and their website is there. And also, if you want to check your professional information in the Georgia Professional Development System, that's going to be the system that verifies credentials for DECAL and for pre-K. You can go to the PDS website and check your profile there. And so the website is there for you to check. Now that you've listened to this presentation, if you still have questions or need further clarification, you should contact your assigned pre-K specialist, who should be able to answer your questions. If they're unable to help you, or you have questions that they cannot answer, he or she will contact you with the appropriate person to support you. They'll either reach out and have that person contact you or give you contact information for someone else in the division that will be able to assist. Thank you for listening to this presentation today. I know it has been long, so I appreciate you hanging in to the last slide. Again, my name is Susan Adams. I'm a Deputy Commissioner for Pre-K and Instructional Supports at the department. Please know I appreciate everything you're doing in the classroom with your students every day. We are excited about the changes in salary. We do think they are good changes for teachers, and I hope this presentation has helped you to understand how the changes will not only impact you this year, but also over time. My contact information, my email, is the easiest way to get a hold of me. If you have questions or comments or need clarification, and you would like to contact me, you're welcome to use my email address there. I'll be happy to see how I can help you. Again, thank you for all you do for our pre-K kids, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you.